Acknowledge a very special gentleman here at ringside. In the world of sports, there are stars, there are superstars, and then there is that select few who can only be called legends. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Budweiser and Top Rank Boxing on ESPN, let me introduce to you a man simply known as the greatest of all time, the three-time heavyweight champion of the world, Muhammad Ali! Ladies and gentlemen, from South Bend, Indiana, let's get ready to rumble 10 rounds in the junior welterweight division. The referee for this bout is Sean Curtin. Introducing first, fighting out of the red corner, wearing the blue trunks with black trim. He weighs 141.5 pounds. His hometown, Minneapolis, Minnesota. This 1985 National Gold Glove champion now has a professional record of 15 victories with 10 KOs, only 2 defeats and 1 draw. Ladies and gentlemen, Anthony Stevens. And fighting out of the blue corner, wearing the red trunks with black letters, he weighs an even 140 pounds. From right here in South Bend, Indiana, he currently holds the IBF Intercontinental Championship, the title not on the line tonight. A veteran of 80 professional bouts with 69 victories, 51 KOs. Ladies and gentlemen, Harold Brazier.
I give you instructions in the dressing room. Remember to obey my commands at all times. Do we have any questions? Okay, protect yourself at all times. Good luck to both of you.
Here's a look at Anthony Stevens. He looks upon this as a big chance. And if fit bodies win fights, then he's going to win.
Wow, look at the legs on this young man. I mean, really, we get a shot of those. Those are muscular legs.
And Harold Brazier, another guy, always comes in fine shape. He had a shoulder injury a couple of years ago, and some people thought maybe that was the end of the road. He went on his own discipline of getting himself back in shape, and he feels he's stronger than he ever has been.
Well, you know, he tried to fight with it, and now he says that was a mistake. That is actually what caused the loss to Bramble, he says. Hey, he says he's smarter now than he ever was. They've all said it, but maybe he means it. And I'll tell you one thing, if that man looks 34 years old,
remarkable. So fitness is not going to be a problem in this fight, I can tell you that. Stevens, a guy with 300 amateur fights. But once again, in the great scheme of things, that really doesn't mean very much.
Well, you know, I asked Brazier about that today. I said, how can a fighter who's only had 17 pro fights really go in there with you and expect to win? He said, hey, this is a kid that really learned how to fight in the amateurs. 325 amateur fights is a lot of fights. So he actually, Brazier thinks that some of that experience may help him as a pro.
Stevens, a National Golden Gloves champion back in 1985.
And one thing about Brazier, he's always been a very slow starter.
Yeah, that's what happened to him against Razai Bramble. He came out cold. Bramble got him early.
Good right by Brazier. That was a pretty good and quick right uppercut in there by Stevens.
Both fighters showing quick hands here this first round. Brazier's Intercontinental title is not on the line. That's the reason this is a 10-round fight, not a 12-round fight. Stevens showing good ability to get in, get out. And a right hand by Brazier again, right on the top of the head.
Brazier's already found something that works against Anthony Stevens, and that's that right hand. But that's Brazier's style, is to kind of sit back, analyze his opponent, find what works, and then use it. That's what he did with Mickey Ward. He found out he could hit him to the body, and he absolutely tore him up to the body.
That was as good as I've ever seen Harold Brazier in the Mickey Ward fight.
Well, if you were ready to write Harold Brazier off, as a lot of people, and I'm sure I was at that point, you had to rethink that after that fight.
Yeah, he really feels he's ready for another championship shot. He feels he's profited by his losses to Koji and Mayweather. Nice little left hand there, too. Drove Stevens off.
If ever a fight would have been a heartbreaker to most fighters, it was that Mayweather fight.
Very tough. So a good first round, up-tempo first round. Brazier might have gotten a little better of it, but Stevens is right there. You look at the back of Harold Brazier. Very good first round.
Well, if anything, I think we've seen that Stevens is not in awe. He's not intimidated at all by Harold Brazier. There's that right hand again by Brazier, and that started a whole flood of punches.
Boy, it is so quick, and it backs Stevens out of there.
And there it is again.
He's found a home for that.
Brazier is one of those fighters who can actually go into a fight without a game plan and formulate it as the fight goes on. There aren't many guys who can do that. And look at the way he picks off the punches on the inside.
Not one of those punches by Stevens got there.
Barry put it very well in the open. He's a consummate pro. There aren't that many of them out there. And most of the time, they're not flashy fighters. They're not the kind of fighters who make millions of dollars. Brazier, Buddy McGirt, Chavez, you know, he's the exception. But those are guys who are pros and know exactly what they're doing in the ring.
Brazier says he wants Chavez.
Well, that would be a purest delight, don't you think?
I do. It'd be an interesting matchup. Good right hand again. That's on behind the jab.
One thing about Chavez, Barry, is that you've got to really hit hard. You have to hit hard because he'll just walk through anything. And I just wonder if Harold's got enough punch.
Be the senior citizens fight, I'll say that.
And don't forget, between them, they have about 140 wins.
That's right. It'd be an attractive fight. It'd be a nice television fight. Camacho had expressed some interest in Harold Brazier until he saw him fight Mickey Ward, and then he said thanks, but no thanks.
Camacho's expressed interest in a lot of fighters until he's seen him fight.
That's right. Brazier, very interesting guy, very much the family man. Good body work being done by Stevens right now.
And that was actually one of several good body shots he's landed in the past 30 seconds.
Counter right hand, and that hurts Stevens. And
Another one. And that's really Harold Brazier's specialty, is counterpunching. You just watch the way he walks forward, he tries to get his position, he lets his man fire, and then he reacts.
The right hand has really been a weapon for Brazier. Both the right hand lead and the counter right. Very good round, and a pretty good round actually for both fighters once again. Stevens hasn't gone anywhere.
No, he hasn't, and actually his temper flared a little bit there at the end of the round.
That's right. He's looking for that right hand over your jab when he's doing it. But keep that jab up. That gives the appearance of that shot. I know your right hand went a little bit for that now.
The voice you're barely hearing is Pete Susans.
Stay low body. 2 rounds is all done. Keep digging that with the hands high, being smart behind the jab. But when he gets close, you put them body shots in. A couple rounds, we'll move it upstairs and it'll be over. Be smart. Don't lose your concentration. Concentrate.
Simple and succinct.
Deep breath.
But an interesting piece of advice there. Even though Harold Brazier's been around, he still has to be told not to lose his concentration, because that's probably what cost him a couple of those big fights.
And Pete Susans saying work to the body, then come up to the head. Meanwhile, it was Stevens who did some pretty good body work in that second round. You know, know, the thing that strikes me, Wally, about Stevens is even should he go ahead and lose this fight, he's probably going to come out a better fighter for it.
It's a no-lose situation for him unless he gets knocked out or really badly beaten here. But if he goes the distance, hey, that's no disgrace, especially for a kid with only 17 fights.
Exactly. Good right hand again by Brazier, and it drives Stevens into the corner. Stevens fights out of the corner.
One thing about Brazier, he's a very careful fighter, and you'll never beat him on a lucky punch. When he goes inside there, he knows exactly what he's doing. He knows what he's looking for.
The lunging left hand by Stevens was a little short.
And Barry, we noticed, as I said, that he lost his temper a little bit at the end of the second round, Stevens. I think that if a fighter loses his head in there with Harold Brazier, he really has no shot.
Take a look at the punch profile through the first 2 rounds. Brazier being very effective, 48%. You saw those numbers. He's right up there at that percentage. But interestingly enough, he's somewhere between the punches per round that he threw against Mayweather and those that he threw against Velasquez and Ward. They were up at 85, 86 around. He's averaging 62 here.
Well, you know what? I've got confidence in Harold. I think he's throwing the amount of punches he thinks is necessary to beat this guy. I also think in a way that the low amount of punches he threw against Mayweather was dictated by the fact that Mayweather also was a counter-puncher.
Right hand again by Brazier. Caught Stevens bouncing off the ropes. Very good work underneath by Harold Brazier, too. The kind of thing you don't see, and frankly, the judges don't see it a lot, too.
Because it's, you know, if it's not seen, it's not seen. And if few fighters do it, judges forget to look for it. Stevens had him set up for that, but he missed.
Just missed, yeah.
But again, don't forget, experienced fighters like Brazier know how to make their opponents miss by little fractions of an inch, which is enough.
A little bit of a cut over the left eye, alongside the left eye, actually, of Stevens. There's a look at Harold Brazier, and as we said, it's a day at the office for this guy.
He's going to get cracking that jab a little more, too. Look at the angles. Look at those angles.
The day got a little rougher last round, though. You know, I still gave Brazier the round, but it was a very close round, and you can almost see the way Stevens could wear his man down if he keeps the body attack up.
Yeah, you could have made a case for Stevens in that last round. Stevens starts out this round, the third, up-tempo.
I don't know, I just don't think that you beat Harold Brazier by wearing him down. I really don't. I think that the fighter that beats him is a better fighter, like a Mayweather, who's, you know, right at the top of the heap. Or a Bramble on a bad night for Brazier. I don't think that a less skilled fighter can come in and just wear him down.
In the 4th round, Stevens busier but less effective.
Boy, that 2-punch difference, that's razor thin. But again, the defensive skills of Brazier, too. You see that he's got Stevens missing 60 punches in that round.
Yeah, Brazier is the guy, as a boxing purist, he's just wonderful to watch.
You know, and it's unfortunate that boxing fans always look for the spectacular knockout, look for the flashy guy, look for somebody with a gimmick. He has none of those things, and yet he's got more skills than a lot of fighters out there. You know, another one who I didn't mention, Marlon Starling. Another one who doesn't excite anybody but does everything right.
What is it then, Wally, in your opinion, that's kept Brazier from taking that next step?
You know, I wondered that the night of the Mayweather fight, and he himself will say that he may not have done quite enough to get the job done. Then he went over to Europe, fought Juan Koji in a fight that many people thought he would win. He came up short in that one, too. Oh, he got nailed with a right hand by Stevens.
A big shot, and the knees buckled for just a moment. So let's not quite put this one in the bag yet for Harold Brazier. Brazier hits him with the right hand. Stevens says no,
Maybe the key is in what Pete Susan said to him a couple of rounds ago. He said, don't lose your concentration. It could be that at times Harold just blanks out in the middle of a fight and lets it slip away.
Not uncommon.
Oh, he set his man up beautifully for that one. That right hand from Stevens was none too shabby either to the body.
Stevens still throwing a lot of punches, but still missing.
Brazier snuck in another counter right hand.
Big left hand there, right there by Brazier, to the top of the head, and it drove Stevens off of him. Stevens might have been a little hurt by that left hand, because he's still in retreat.
Now, Brazier's not considered a knockout puncher, and yet he's got 51 KOs.
That's
he can
got a
put him out of the way.
contradictory in it.
But what he said to me today was that he doesn't go in there looking for the knockout, but if the opportunity's there, he's certainly going to try and do it.
I think he definitely got Stevens' attention. And he ends the round with a flourish. We'll be back. Well, Pete Souza's advice to Harold Brazier in the corner between rounds basically was do what you're doing.
He also said, though, to watch out because he thinks that Stevens is trying to set Brazier up for a right hand. He wants him to switch up his look a little bit. He thinks he's getting a little predictable in there.
It's the 6th round, scheduled for 10.
The remarkable thing, Barry, again, is that even though Brazier's the older man, he seems to be wearing down Stevens. And it may just be that Brazier's elevated the intensity of the fight to a level where Stevens has never been before.
Stevens has a brother, Donald Stevens, who had some success as a middleweight, I believe he was a middleweight.
He's a middleweight, yeah.
Take a look at the jabs through the first 5 rounds. These can tell you a story.
14 of 197.
That's not real sharp, is it?
It's hard to miss that many jabs even if you try.
As you said, Brazier has not forgotten about the defensive part of this offensive sport.
That's always been a big part of his game, you know, and that's something that's not appreciated because it's not spectacular. You know, he's a bit cautious in the ring, and he admits that he is. But hey, that's why he's 34 years old. He's unmarked, and he's still fighting.
That's exactly right. That's precisely how he can have 80. This is his 81st fight.
On his way, he says, to 150 or 200.
And I'll tell you what, when you talk to him, this guy could be a school teacher.
I'll tell you what, he has a healthy respect for the old-timers. He was talking to me today about guys like Willie Pep and Sugar Ray Robinson, who it was commonplace for them to fight 200 times and to fight 4 times a month and not get hurt. And that's the kind of fighter he wants to be, and there aren't many of those.
Well, there are so many fighters around, walking around, guys who had a number of fights who took their worst punishment in the gym. And that's basically Harold Brazier's theory. He says, I'd rather fight once a week than go in there and spar every day. One of those fighters sitting here in this building.
Right. Muhammad Ali. And, you know, with him, it was kind of a game to let those sparring partners pound away at him because he knew he had a great chin and he liked to show it off.
That's exactly right. In fact, I asked Sugar Ray Leonard about that one time. I said, why do you do that? Because Ray did the same thing. He would always take some serious shots in the gym, and he said a fighter just has to know what it feels like to be hit. And you don't want to be hit in a fight, so you get hit in the gym.
And it's also a way of showing the other guys that you're the top dog. It really is.
I saw Ali take some woeful beatings at Deer Lake.
He used to just lay on the ropes and let them pound away.
Exactly right. And we come to the end of the 6th round. A little frustration showing on the face of Anthony Stevens.
Come on, baby. You got to get some mustard on that right hand. Listen, I'll tell you what you're doing. You're throwing that right hand wild. Lower the sights on it a little bit, Anthony. Get the sights lowered on that right hand. You hear me? Drive it straight across. Just lower the sights on it a little bit. Aim it into his Adam's apple. Don't worry about that cut one bit. It's all taken care of, baby. How many is it that towel? Come on, you got to get with it. Shoot the angles. Get off that jab a little more.
See how hard it is to penetrate that defense of Harold Brazier for Stevens, and that's why he went back to that corner shaking his head. In the meantime, Brazier showing his man how to jab. His jab has been used sparsely but effectively in this fight.
Come on, baby. Come on. Put it all together now. We'll get ragged in there.
And in the corner of Stevens, they told him, aim your punches a little bit lower. Aim it as Adam's apple. Also, it appeared to me at least to be a little bit of frustration starting to get into the corner of Anthony Stevens now. A little bit of what do we do next?
Yeah, well, obviously they don't have the answer for him either.
Because what he's doing is not bad. It's just that he's in there against a guy who does what he does better than he does.
That's right. You know, and today he was kind of confident that being the younger man, he felt he was the stronger man, that he would just be able to wear his man down. And when that hasn't worked, he can't match skills with Brazier.
Look at the numbers through the first 6 rounds. Stevens busier, but look at that. Twice as many punches, more than twice as many punches have landed by Harold Brazier. So he throws 150 punches less, and he lands twice as many. What does that tell you?
It tells me that Anthony Stevens is one frustrated young man in there right now. And don't forget how tiring it is to miss 450 times in a fight.
Good right hand again by Brazier.
Just missed the chin. You know, most of Brazier's right hands have been landing high, up around the temple and the cheekbone. If he can drop one of those on the chin, we might see it, and I think he did that time.
I think he did too.
We might see some effect. Well, Stevens has shown a pretty good chin.
He's taken a few good shots. That one was a very good one. Another right hand, and that was also up on the temple, and Stevens fought back from that one.
Again, you get the feeling that Brazier is letting his man blow off steam, letting him throw his punches. He's catching them, he's riding with them, and then when he gets a chance, he's countering with sharp shots.
And for every one that Stevens lands, Brazier lands 2. That's the story of the fight. That strikes me too is in this division, I would say Stevens good shot there by Brazier, and that drove Stevens into the ropes and hurt him. What I started to say is that Stevens would probably beat 90% of the people that we see week in and week out on Top Rank Boxing.
Oh, I think so. I think he's headed somewhere in the junior welterweight division. I mean, I don't know if he'll ever beat a Harold Brazier, but you can see that he's headed into the top 10. He's a strong fighter, he's got a good chin, and he's willing.
Good shot again by Brazier. Well, you can't really criticize Stevens. He's doing everything he can, but he's just in there against a buzzsaw.
Here's Harold Brazier mixing up the attack a bit. He starts it, left hook to the body, now right uppercut between the gloves, finishes it with a left hook to the head.
Bit of a clinic being conducted by the man in the red trunks, Harold Brazier. I'm sure Muhammad Ali is really appreciating what he's watching in the person of Harold Brazier.
Well, I would think so. I'll tell you what, in a way, Brazier does things that Ali never did. Like Ali never body punched, but he always appreciated guys who did. You know, ask him about Joe Frazier. Brazier's got Stevens lunging. That's definitely a sign of frustration.
So far, you have it as almost a shutout, you know? In fact, you do have
Actually, I do have it as a shutout.
Looking over your shoulder there.
You know, one of the overlooked punches that Brazier uses quite a bit, and it doesn't catch anybody's eye except, hopefully, the judges, is a right underneath the elbow of Stevens. Watch the way he does it. When Stevens jabs, he dips a little bit and then digs a right hand right under his elbow.
Stevens was right there for that right hand. Brazier just a little late with it. I think there might be a little bit of fatigue starting to set into Stevens too.
Well, he's been hit quite often and he's missed a lot, and both of those things take a lot of steam out of the fighter.
Stevens looks to me to be there for a short right hand by Brazier.
Now, another rap that's been put on Harold, maybe unfairly, is that he doesn't really have the killer instinct. You know, some fighters at this point would really try to take advantage of an Anthony Stevens.
I think Harold Brazier goes back to the hackneyed phrase of hit and don't be hit, and I think that's really how he conducts business.
There are also some fighters who don't believe it's necessary to knock a man out when you've got him, clearly beaten.
Unfortunately, people in our business don't necessarily agree with that.
That's right. You have to depend on the perceptions of three people who you don't know or you're not related to. Best to take matters into your own hands. That was a good short right underneath by Brazier.
There's that short right hand, and it hurt Stevens.
Those were as clean a pair of right hands as he's thrown all night.
That was exactly the punch that it seemed that Stevens was there for.
How Stevens remained on his feet for that.
Come on, sit up straight. Put those hands up. Sit up straight. Anthony, you can't get ragged out there. You're getting careless, you're getting tired, you're getting ragged. Hold it all together now, baby. Work off that jab this round. Get out there and stick that jab in him. You got to get it up there. Come on, you got 2 more rounds.
And this is one heck of an offensive sequence for Harold Brazier. It's a right hand, the left sets him up in position, and then boom, solid on the jaw. And I tell you, I don't know what held Stevens up right there. You see the left hand move Stevens into the right position, and then bang, over comes the right.
Boy, that's just quality
Stop
stuff.
that jab. Come on, suck it in now.
Suckers down!
This is going to be one of those situations where it's going to be a lopsided decision, and yet you can't take anything away from the other man.
As a matter of fact, anybody who's seen this fight will tell you that Stevens fought a heck of a fight.
Yes.
And his record will just go down as a loss 10, we assume. But he really gave a good account of himself, and he stood up to a lot of punishment.
In round number 8, look at these numbers, startling.
Well, that's just been the same story every round. I mean, you just watch one round and multiply by 10, and I think you got the story of the fight.
And the numbers that are on the negative side for Stevens are not so much the fact that he's been wild with his punches. He's just fighting a great defensive fight. Right. And that right hand got through the gloves of Brazier, who for just a moment covered up.
Brazier's got a good chin, too. There haven't been many fighters that had him down. Koji had him down, which probably was the difference in that fight.
And Bramble hit him early. And
right.
The fight was over really with one punch.
But Mayweather landed some of the best right hands that, any junior welterweight was throwing in those days, and Brazier stood up to those.
Nice uppercut. Drives Stevens off of him. And another right hand.
I kind of get the feeling that if Brazier wants this fight to end, it will.
I kind of get the feeling he might want it to. Look at all those shots by Stevens being caught on the gloves.
The gloves, on the elbows, on the forearms.
And again, on the gloves.
No showboating from Harold Brazier, no dropping of the hands, it's just all business.
Three-punch combination, all got there. In microcosm, that's the story of this night. Stevens missed about 10 punches in a row, and Brazier hit him with 3.
Brazier's really been a pinpoint puncher tonight. I mean, he's always been very accurate, but tonight he hasn't wasted many punches at all.
Three-punch combination again. Well, you watch this guy and you just wonder, how is he not a champion?
It's one of the mysteries of boxing, where there's always some little thing that elevates one fighter among the rest of them. And maybe Harold Brazier just doesn't have that one little thing, but It's really not readily visible.
Boy, I'll tell you, I've now seen him probably half a dozen times, and every time I see him, I marvel.
Taking him up and down. Those feints are working good.
Although I did see him lose to Bramble, but as we've indicated, that's a forgivable loss.
That was a marvel in itself, too, because when was the last time you saw Harold Brazier in that position?
When you get on the inside, you got to start blasting the body, take a little spin off, and then to the head, okay? Give him a little spin on the inside.
You hear me, Anthony?
In Stevens' corner,
Come on, baby,
I don't
put it all
imagine there's
together.
much that can be said.
Rinse this off. Suck it up.
What they
Come
can
on,
say to him
suck
at
it
this point is, hey, you fought a heck of a
Give me a
great
little
9
swing.
rounds. Give us 3
Come on,
more
come
minutes,
on.
and
Sit up straight.
we'll take it as a learning experience.
And there's a look at the greatest, Muhammad Ali. Muhammad's been working the room here. You haven't seen much of this fight, actually.
Actually, it's been an endless stream of people coming up to him.
Talk about attracting a crowd, and talk about loving it.
Here we go. The fight is 3 minutes now for Anthony Stevens. This is it.
Trying to do what he hasn't been able to do the entire 9 rounds so far.
And like we said earlier, you do not get lucky with Harold Brazier. He doesn't allow you to.
Nice uppercut there. Looking for that 1 or 2 combinations to win the final round and go for the perfect 10, if you will.
Got hit with another uppercut there, but I'll tell you one thing that I can be pretty sure is in Brazier's mind. He knows that he's fighting a desperate fighter. And he's not going to take too many chances here.
The crowd taking up the chant. Harold, Harold. Very popular guy because he's very much a part of the community here.
Yes, he is. You know, we talked about the lack of appreciation that Brazier may get from boxing fans and such, but he is very appreciated here in South Bend. I've even seen Marlon Starling's fans in Hartford get a little irritated with him or lose interest in his fights, but not here.
That's really true.
And there's that right to the body again by Brazier.
So Harold Brazier runs out the string here. Just looking for a perfect game, as it were. Hit Stevens with a left hand, caught him off balance. Stevens is trying to do anything he can, but there doesn't seem to be anything in the book that's going to work tonight.
You got to give him credit, though. He's shown very little sign of discouragement, which is, bodes well for the future of a young fighter.
Absolutely. It's over. I don't think there's any question as to the outcome, but you have to give a lot of credit to Anthony Stevens. He took a fight with a very experienced fighter, and he didn't fight badly.
No, he certainly didn't disgrace himself, and this turns out to be the no-lose situation that we talked about.
And Harold Brazier makes a little victory lap, despite the fact that victory has not yet been announced.
Well, I think that he would be even more shocked than we would.
Yes. This one I feel very confident about. Of course, there have been others I felt confident about, too, that I was absolutely wrong about.
Yeah, me too.
We'll get a chance to talk to Harold Brazier. You'll see what a well-spoken young man, actually young man, how do you like that? 34 years old, I'm calling him a young man. But
well, I think you and I can say that.
That's true, that's true. He is a delightful guy. Let's make it official now with Michael Butler.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a unanimous decision. Here is the official scoring. Monty Cox and Gary Merritt both score the bout 98-92. Fred Jones scores the bout 100-90 for the winner by unanimous decision. Harold Brazier.
Well, it was a shutout on one card, and on the other two, Brazier winning at least 8 of the rounds. Perhaps a couple even. So Harold Brazier, unanimous decision winner, and he looks to a title shot. We'll be back. There's the Harold Brazier fan club, and most of those kids relatives of Harold Brazier. A lot of nephews and nieces in there, not to mention his own kids. Let's get up the center of the ring now. Wally Matthews is with Harold Brazier. Wally?
Harold, didn't anybody tell you that 34-year-old men are not supposed to fight like that? I mean, what are you doing here?
First of all, I'd like to give the glory to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, and that's the main reason right there. Because of my faith, it gives me all the encouragement, all the drive I need.
In the meantime, you outfought a man who was almost 10 years younger than you. You fought at a really top speed the whole way. How long are you going to fight?
Hey, I'm in just as good a shape as most guys just turning pro, and they have a 10-year career, then I can stay in 10 more years.
Now, were you surprised by the fact that Stevens took a heck of a lot of shots, didn't seem to get discouraged? I mean, 17 pro fights. Did you really expect to get that much resistance from him?
Well, like most of the 1988 Olympic gold medalists, 1984 Olympic gold medalists, most of them were seasoned pros going into the professional ranks. And so going there at the professional, they had a lot of amateur fights to make them a seasoned pro when they turn pro.
It seemed that at several times he caught you with some hard punches, single punches, uppercuts inside, and some body shots. Were you hurt at all?
No, that's one of the things where when I got caught with Bramble, it was one of the things like maybe Harold Brazier's on my way out. But my body was soft. I trained for 3 months after being off for 3 months, and my body was soft. And so I'm in great shape. I always could take a good shot, and that's something that you're born with. Be able to take a good shot, have a good punch, and endurance. And with conditioning, it upgrades all 3 of those things.
All right, you got 70 wins now. Where does this lead to? Was there any real prospect of another title shot?
Well, I'm still honing down on my skills, trying to become a better fighter every day. I'm waiting for Chavez to make a move, either get a title shot with him if he stays in the junior welterweight division, or fight for one of the vacant titles if he moves up to challenge one of the welterweight champions.
All right, Harold Brazier, thanks a lot. 70 wins and still learning, 34 years old, and he looks great. Now back to Barry.
All right, thanks very much, Wally, and he does look great. 58% land percentage. He threw 64 punches around. This is a clinic, folks. Harold Brazier, unanimous decision winner. Who's out there that wants to take him on for the title? We'll be back.